The Ketterville County Jail towered over the small town like a gray monolith, reminding everyone that crime has consequences. Built in 1987, this maximum security facility housed 320 inmates and was the largest employer in a town with a population of just over 8,000. Marcus Cole woke up at 5:47 a.m. on Thursday, just like he had every day for the past 3 years. His internal clock was more accurate than the prison alarm. His cellmate Dennis was still snoring on the bottom bunk, but Marcus knew that in 13 minutes the alarm would go off. He lay there staring at the ceiling, counting the days until Saturday. Goodbye to Jennifer. At 35, Marcus was serving an 8-year sentence for armed robbery at a gas station. It wasn't the worst crime in his block, but it was serious enough to rob him of the best years of his life. Before his arrest, he had worked as a mechanic at Jack's Auto Service on Cedarville's main street. People said he had good hands. Too bad he didn't use them for the right things. The wake-up call sounded at 6 sharp. Marcus got up, washed his face with cold water from the metal sink, and put on his standard orange uniform. Dennis muttered something unintelligible and turned toward the wall. A longtime drug addict, he was serving his 4th sentence for possession. A harmless but depressed neighbor. Breakfast was served in the common dining room. Marcus took his usual place in the corner, with his back to the wall. In 3 years, he had learned the basic rules of survival. Don't stand out, don't get involved in other people's business, and stay away from gangs. The oatmeal was tasteless, the coffee watery, but it was food. He ate slowly and methodically, thinking about home. Jennifer worked as a cashier at a Food Mart supermarket on the outskirts of town. The pay was low, $12 an hour, but it was enough to rent a 2-room apartment and feed her 2 children. Their son, Jason, was in 7th grade, and their daughter, Emily, was in 4th. When Marcus was arrested, the boy was 9 and the girl was 6. Now they hardly remembered their father as a free man. After breakfast, it was off to work in the prison laundry. Marcus sorted dirty laundry, loaded industrial washing machines, and folded clean sheets. It was monotonous work, but it helped him keep his mind off things. 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. He was paid 23 cents an hour, $110 a month, which he could spend in the prison store or send to his family. Guard Robert Steele made his rounds twice a shift. A burly man in his 50s, he had been working at the prison for 17 years. He had seen it all. Marcus was one of his favorite inmates, hard-working, no trouble, stayed out of prison politics. "Cole, got a visit tomorrow?" Steele asked during his lunch round. "Yes, sir, my wife is coming with the kids." "Good. Don't forget to apply for extra time. You've got a clean record." Marcus nodded. Extra time meant 4 hours instead of the standard 2. It was a rare privilege that had to be earned through months of impeccable behavior. Lunch was stew with potatoes, bread, and fruit cocktail from a can. Marcus ate while listening to the conversations at the neighboring tables. Someone complained about their lawyer. Someone was planning an escape. Someone discussed news from the outside world. Prison life consisted of rumors, gossip, and endless waiting. The second half of the workday passed more quickly. At 4, Marcus finished his shift and returned to his cell. He had an hour of free time before dinner. He lay down on his bunk with a book, the biography of a mechanic who became a millionaire. He read slowly, a few pages a day. Books helped him forget. Dennis woke up and sat on the edge of his bunk, rubbing his face. "Cole, is your woman coming tomorrow?" "Yes." "You're lucky. Mine left me after my 2nd term. Said she was tired of waiting." Marcus said nothing. He knew he was lucky. Most prisoners' wives left within the 1st year. Jennifer had stuck it out for 3 years, despite all the difficulties. Dinner, evening roll call, lights out at 9. Marcus lay in the dark, listening to the sounds of the prison night, snoring, coughing, distant conversations of the guards. Tomorrow was Friday, one more day until he would see her again. Friday dragged on endlessly. Marcus worked in the laundry, had lunch, read, but his thoughts were preoccupied with the upcoming meeting. He rehearsed the conversation with his children in his mind, thinking about what Jennifer would say. Prison visits were a strange theater, an attempt to pretend to be a normal family in abnormal circumstances. In the evening, he took a shower, got a haircut at the prison barbershop, and brushed his teeth with cheap toothpaste from the prison store. He wanted to look presentable for his family, Pastor David Miller was conducting the evening service in the prison chapel. Marcus wasn't particularly religious, but he went sometimes, more out of boredom than faith. The pastor was a good man who sincerely tried to help the inmates. He was about 50 years old, with graying hair and kind eyes behind metal-rimmed glasses. "Marcus, family tomorrow?" the pastor asked after the service. "Yes, Pastor Miller." "How are things at home? Is your wife managing?" "She's managing. It's hard, of course, but she's managing." The pastor nodded understandingly. "If you need any help, let me know. We have support programs for prisoners' families." Marcus thanked him, even though he knew Jennifer was proud. She wouldn't accept help from strangers as long as there was any chance she could manage on her own. Saturday started early. Marcus woke up at 5 in the morning, even though visiting hours didn't start until 10. He lay there, staring at the ceiling and listening to the prison wake up. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, a sound from the free world that rarely penetrated these walls. Breakfast was quick. Marcus ate only toast with jam, his appetite gone from nervousness. At 8:30, he was called for a search before the visit. The standard procedure: undressing, a body search, a metal detector. Humiliating, but necessary. At 9:45, a guard escorted him to the visiting room, a large room with plastic tables and chairs, vending machines along the walls, and a children's corner with toys. The windows were barred, but sunlight still filtered in, making the room almost cozy. Marcus sat down at table number 7, their usual spot. His hands were shaking slightly with excitement. How many times had he sat here waiting for his family? Hundreds. But every time, his heart beat as fast as it did the first time. At 10 minutes past 10, the door opened, and Jennifer entered with the children. His wife looked tired. At 32, she was still a beautiful woman, but the years in prison had left their mark. Dark circles under her eyes, a thinner face, cheap clothes. She worked 50 hours a week to make ends meet. Jason had grown up. He was almost as tall as his mother. He was a serious boy with his father's dark hair. Emily was a carbon copy of her mother as a child. Light curls, blue eyes, a lively smile. "Hi, Dad." Emily ran up and hugged him. Children's hugs were the best cure for prison depression. Jason approached more slowly and shook his father's hand like an adult. The boy was shy about public displays of affection, especially in prison. Jennifer kissed her husband on the cheek, a short, almost formal kiss. They sat down at the table, the children on either side, the parents facing each other. "How's work?" Marcus asked. "Fine. The new manager is a bit of a jerk, but he's okay to work with." The conversation followed the usual pattern: work, school, neighbors, the weather, safe topics that didn't cause any pain. Marcus talked about a new book in the prison library, Emily talked about a school play, and Jason was quieter than usual. An hour later, they bought snacks from a vending machine: chips, soda, chocolate bars, a small celebration in the gray prison reality. Emily laughed at her dad's jokes, and Jason gradually warmed up. "Dad, when are you coming home?" the girl asked. A standard question with a painful answer. "5 more years, princess, but time will fly by." Jennifer looked away. 5 years was half of their daughter's childhood. By the time he returned, Jason would be finishing school, and Emily would be a teenager. He was missing out on their growing up. At 2 o'clock, the visit was over. Goodbyes were always the hardest part. Emily cried, clinging to her father. Jason stood silently, his fists clenched. Jennifer hugged her husband tighter than usual. "See you in a week," she whispered in his ear. Marcus watched his family leave. Jennifer took the children by the hand and didn't look back. He was left alone in the empty visiting room, feeling the familiar emptiness in his chest. 2 weeks had passed since the last visit when Marcus noticed the first changes. Jennifer was 15 minutes late, which was unheard of for her. She always arrived at 10 o'clock sharp, like clockwork. This time she showed up without the children, explaining that they were staying with their neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. Jason caught a cold, and Emily didn't want to go without her brother, she said, avoiding his gaze. Marcus had known his wife for 15 years. They met in high school, married at 20, and lived together until his arrest. He could read her like an open book, every gesture, every intonation. Something was wrong. "How's work?" he asked, studying her face. Fine, they gave me more hours. Now I work Sundays too. That explained her tiredness. Jennifer looked exhausted, pale skin, dark circles under her eyes, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. But there was something else. A new hairstyle, light makeup. Women in prison didn't usually wear makeup. You look good, Marcus said. Jennifer blushed slightly. Thanks. I just decided to tidy myself up a bit. The conversation was awkward. Jennifer was distracted, often distracted by other visitors, looking at her watch. She usually talked about the children in detail, their grades, friends, school events. Today she limited herself to general phrases. How's Jason doing in school? Fine, he got a B in math and C's in everything else. And Emily? She's fine too. Marcus felt a growing sense of unease. Where were the details, the stories? His wife had always been talkative, especially about the children. They were the center of her world. An hour before the end of the visit, Jennifer started getting ready to leave. Are you leaving already? I have to pick up the kids, and I have things to do. She kissed him quickly, almost running away. Marcus was left alone at the table, feeling something important slipping away from his life. Back in his cell, he lay down on his bunk and stared at the ceiling. Dennis was playing cards with his cellmates. Marcus didn't usually join in their games, but today he needed a distraction. Can I join you? They were playing poker with matches. The stakes were symbolic, but the excitement was real. Marcus played averagely, thinking about his wife. Why was she in such a hurry? What was going on a Saturday night? Cole, where are you? Asked Raymond, a cellmate from the next cell. He was a heavyset man in his 40s, serving time for fraud. My wife is acting strange. How so? Marcus told them about the visit. The men listened, nodding. They all had similar stories. Bro, that's bad, Raymond said. When a woman starts dressing up for prison visits, she's not dressing up for her husband. What do you mean? She's seeing someone. She's getting used to looking good. She automatically does it everywhere. Dennis nodded. Mine did that too. First a new hairstyle, then makeup. Then she started coming home late. A month later, she admitted she was cheating on me. Marcus threw down his cards. You don't know my wife. Maybe we don't, Raymond said softly. But we know women, and we know what happens to prisoners' families. Marcus didn't sleep that night. His cellmate's words kept running through his head. Could Jennifer really have cheated on him? They had sworn to be faithful to each other. She had promised to wait for him. But 3 years was a long time for a young woman. Jennifer was only 32. She had a job, she had friends, and he was sitting in a cell. Maybe the loneliness had become unbearable. The next day, Marcus worked distractedly in the laundry room. He mixed up the laundry twice and forgot to add detergent once. Guard Steele noticed. Cole, are you okay? Yes, sir, just tired. Steele studied him closely. In 17 years on the job, he had seen a lot. He knew the signs of depression, anger, despair. Want to talk to the chaplain? No, thanks, I'll be fine. But he wasn't fine. All day long, his thoughts returned to his wife. Marcus thought back over the last few months. Had there been other signs? Jennifer had indeed become more reserved. She talked less about work and the neighbors, and the children. Jason had become quieter, and Emily sometimes seemed confused. In the evening, during phone time, Marcus called home. Jason answered the phone. Hi, son. How are you? Fine, Dad. Is Mom home? No. She went to the store. At 8 o'clock in the evening? The stores are closed. Pause. I don't know, Dad. She said she'd be back soon. Marcus felt a chill in his stomach. What are you and Emily doing? Watching TV. Mr. Tommy brought pizza. Mr. Tommy? Yeah, Uncle Tommy, Mom's friend. Tommy Henderson. Marcus remembered him vaguely. They had gone to school together, but they weren't close. He worked at a gas station and lived alone. When had he become Jennifer's friend? Does he come over often? Sometimes. He helps Mom with shopping and stuff. The conversation with his son lasted a few more minutes, but Marcus wasn't listening anymore. One name was stuck in his head: Tommy Henderson. Back in his cell, he tried to remember everything he knew about Tommy. They had been in the same class, But in different groups, Tommy was a quiet guy, a loser at sports and with girls after school. He disappeared from view. Marcus got married, had children, and worked at a car repair shop. Their paths diverged. How did Tommy appear in his family's life? And when? The next day, Marcus found Pastor Miller in the chapel. The priest was preparing for evening service, laying out the hymnals. "Pastor, can we talk?" "Of course, Marcus. Have a seat." They sat down in the front row. Marcus searched for the right words for a long time. "I'm having problems with my wife." "What kind of problems?" "I think she's cheating on me." Pastor Miller didn't look surprised. "What makes you think that?" Marcus told him about his last visit, the phone call with his son and Tommy Henderson. The pastor listened silently. "Marcus, families of prisoners are under a lot of stress. Sometimes people make the wrong decisions. So you think I'm right? I think you need to talk to your wife directly. Suspicions without facts will destroy you from the inside." "But what if it's true?" The pastor put his hand on his shoulder. "Then you'll have to forgive her. Anger will only make things worse." Forgive. Easy to say sitting in a chapel. But what if his wife was really cheating on him with his classmate? Marcus felt a familiar feeling rising in his chest, the rage that had landed him in prison. He stood up and headed for the door. "Marcus," the pastor called after him, "promise me you won't make any rash decisions." Marcus didn't answer. The next few days dragged on agonizingly slowly. Marcus worked mechanically, ate without appetite, slept poorly. He analyzed every word his wife had said over the past few months, every gesture, every glance. There were signs, but he ignored them. On Thursday, he called home again. This time, Emily answered the phone. "Hi, Princess, how are you?" "Fine, Daddy. Guess what? Uncle Tommy fixed our car." "Uncle Tommy?" "Yes, he's very nice and funny. He brought me a new doll yesterday." Marcus clenched the phone so tightly that his knuckles hurt. "Where's Mom?" "In the shower. Do you want me to get her?" "No, don't bother. Tell her I called." When he hung up, Marcus felt the world crumbling around him. Tommy was buying gifts for his daughter, fixing his car, living his life. On Friday evening, he spoke to Raymond again. "You were right," Marcus said. "I think she's seeing someone." "Who?" "A classmate, Tommy Henderson." Raymond whistled. "You know him? That's the worst kind, bro." "Why?" "Because it's not just a fling. He knows your family, your history. He's probably had his eye on her for a long time." Marcus imagined Tommy in his house, at his table, playing with his children. Waves of rage washed over him. What should I do? Talk to her directly. No accusations, no shouting. Give her a chance to explain. What if she denies everything? Then you'll have to dig deeper. Saturday came too quickly. Marcus prepared for the meeting as if it were a battle. He took a shower, put on a clean uniform, and rehearsed the conversation in his head. He had to remain calm and control his anger. He waited at the usual table in the visiting room. His hands were shaking. His heart was beating fast. At 5:10, the door opened and Jennifer walked in. Alone, without the children. She looked better than she had 2 weeks ago. New dress, neat hairstyle, light makeup. A beautiful woman whom he had loved for half his life. "Hi," she said, sitting down across from him. "Hi. Where are the kids?" "At Tommy's." He took them to the amusement park. It hit him like a punch in the gut. She didn't even try to hide it. "Tommy's? Tommy Henderson. You remember him? We were in the same class." "I remember him. How did he get involved in our lives?" Jennifer hesitated. "He helps us. With the car, with shopping. He's a good man." "A nice man," Marcus repeated. "And how long has he been helping us?" "Marcus, what's going on? You're acting strange." "You're not." She looked away. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Jen, we've known each other for 15 years. Don't lie to me." There was a long pause. The room was quiet, except for the sound of other conversations and children's laughter coming from the play corner. "Tommy has been helping us for 6 months, she finally said. "After the car broke down and we didn't have money for repairs." "And that's all? What do you mean?" "You know what I mean." Jennifer looked him in the eyes. "He's a good friend, Marcus, and the kids like him." "A friend. Marcus felt anger rising in his throat. A friend who buys gifts for my daughter, who takes my kids to the park, who lives my life. That's not true. Then what is it? Explain it to me. Jennifer was silent, fingering the hem of her dress. Marcus could see her struggling with herself. I'm lonely, she said quietly. Very lonely, Marcus. And Tommy understands that. He's kind, caring. Are you sleeping with him? The question came out sharply, louder than Marcus had intended. Several patrons at nearby tables turned to look. Jennifer paled. Marcus, answer me! She covered her face with her hands. I didn't want this to happen. The world stopped. All sounds faded away. Time stood still. Marcus looked at his wife and didn't recognize her. How long? 2 months. Do you love him? I don't know, she whispered. I'm confused. Marcus stood up from the table. His legs were shaking, his head was spinning. I need to think. Marcus, wait. But he was already heading for the exit. The guard escorted him back to his cell early, a rare occurrence that meant trouble. In his cell, Marcus lay down on his bunk and closed his eyes. 2 months. His wife had been sleeping with another man for 2 months, with Tommy Henderson, the loser from their class. Dennis returned from his walk and saw his cellmate's state. Cole, what happened? She confessed. Damn. Dennis sat down on his bunk. What now? I don't know. But it was a lie. Marcus knew exactly what he was going to do. Rage grew inside him like a living thing. The same rage that had made him rob the gas station. The same rage that had destroyed his life. Only now it had a name. Tommy Henderson. The next week was hell for Marcus. He hardly slept, ate little, and worked in the laundry like a machine. Supervisor Steele reprimanded him several times for mistakes Marcus had never made before. Loading the wrong chemicals, over-drying laundry, mixing up the sorting. Signs of a man whose mind was elsewhere. Dennis tried to strike up a conversation, but Marcus responded with one-word answers. He lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, the same thoughts running through his head. Jennifer in Tommy's arms, Tommy at his kitchen table, Tommy reading bedtime stories to his daughter. On Wednesday evening, he couldn't take it anymore and called home. An unfamiliar male voice answered the phone. Hello? Marcus froze. Tommy was at his house, answering his phone. Hello? Is anyone there? The voice repeated. Marcus hung up without saying a word. His hands were shaking with rage. That bastard felt like he owned his house. Cole, are you okay? Asked the security guard, noticing his state. Everything's fine, Marcus growled. He didn't sleep at all that night. He lay awake and made plans. Tommy Henderson had to pay. And Jennifer too. They had betrayed him and destroyed his family. They deserved to be punished. On Thursday morning, Pastor Miller came to his cell during breakfast. Marcus, I've been told you're having problems. No problems. Your behavior suggests otherwise. Would you like to talk? Marcus looked at the pastor, kind eyes behind glasses, graying hair, a sincere desire to help. A good man in a world full of shit. She's been cheating on me for 2 months. The pastor sat down on the edge of the cot. I understand how you feel. You understand? Marcus smiled bitterly. Are you married, Pastor? 23 years. Has your wife ever slept with other men? No. Then you don't understand anything. Pastor Miller paused. You're right. I can't imagine your pain. But I know that anger won't heal her. Anger is all I have left. You have your children. That hit home. Jason and Emily. They weren't to blame for what had happened, but they had grown attached to Tommy, called him uncle, and loved his gifts. Had they betrayed their father too? The kids love that bastard more than they love me. Children love those who are close to them. That doesn't mean they've forgotten their father. It does. The pastor put his hand on his shoulder. Marcus, I've seen many families in this situation. Some fell apart completely, others found a way to heal. The difference was in how the prisoner reacted. And how did they react? The ones who healed. They forgave. Marcus removed the pastor's hand from his shoulder. I'm not a saint. You don't have to be. But you can choose who you want to be. a victim or someone who rises above their circumstances. After the pastor left, Marcus sat on his bunk for a long time. Forgive. How could he forgive such betrayal? His wife had sworn to wait for him, to love only him. His children had promised to miss their dad. It had all been a lie. On Friday, he called home again. This time, Emily answered the phone. "Daddy?" she shouted happily. "Guess what?" "What is it, princess?" "Uncle Tommy taught me how to ride a bike, without training wheels." Another blow. Marcus had dreamed of teaching his daughter to ride a bike himself. It was one of those things a father should do for his children. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Do you want to talk to Uncle Tommy? He's here." "No," Marcus said quickly. "Is Mom home?" "She's upstairs taking a shower. Uncle Tommy is making dinner for us. He makes really good hamburgers." Tommy was cooking dinner at his house while his wife was taking a shower upstairs. The scene was too domestic, too intimate. "Daddy, are you there?" "Yes, princess. Listen, tell your mom I called." "Okay, I love you, Daddy." "I love you too." Marcus hung up the phone and felt something break inside him. Tommy wasn't just sleeping with his wife. He had replaced him. Completely. He taught his daughter to ride a bike, cooked family dinners, answered phone calls. On Saturday morning, Marcus prepared for his date with particular care. He took a long shower, shaved carefully, and put on his cleanest uniform. He was going to have a serious talk with his wife, get to the bottom of things. A surprise awaited him in the visiting room. Jennifer wasn't alone. Tommy Henderson was with her. Marcus hadn't seen him in almost 20 years. Tommy had changed, from a skinny teenager to a strong man. Not handsome, but pleasant-looking. A simple face, kind eyes, a confident gait. He was dressed modestly but neatly. Jeans, a plaid shirt, work boots. They approached the table together. Jennifer looked nervous, Tommy determined. "Hi, Marcus," Tommy said, extending his hand for a handshake. Marcus didn't respond to the greeting or shake his hand. He stared at the man who had slept with his wife and felt rage rising in his throat. "Marcus, we need to talk," Jennifer said. "We?" Marcus nodded toward Tommy. "Is he part of our marriage now?" Tommy sat down without waiting to be invited. "Listen, Marcus, I understand that you're angry. You understand?" Marcus's voice became dangerously quiet. "You're fucking my wife, raising my children, living in my house, and you understand that I'm angry?" Several patrons at nearby tables turned to look. A security guard by the wall took a step forward. "Marcus, calm down," Jennifer whispered. "Jennifer, don't tell me what to do," he said, turning to his wife. "You brought your lover here, to my prison, to our date." "I asked her," Tommy said calmly. "I wanted to talk to you man to man." "Man to man?" Marcus laughed maliciously. "Men don't sleep with other men's wives." "Marcus," Tommy began. "Shut up," Marcus barked. "Don't you dare say my name with your filthy mouth." The guard moved closer. "Any problems?" "No problems," Jennifer said quickly. "We're just talking." The security guard gave Marcus a warning look and walked away, but remained within earshot. "Listen," Tommy said quietly. "I didn't plan for this to happen. I just wanted to help Jen with the kids." "Help," Marcus repeated. "By sticking your dick in my wife?" "Marcus," Jennifer blushed. "What?" "We're telling the truth. Your dear Tommy was helping you by spreading your legs." Tommy clenched his fists on the table, but his voice remained steady. "I understand your anger, but Jennifer has been alone for 3 years. The kids need a man in the house. They have a father who's in prison for armed robbery." Silence. Tommy had said what everyone was thinking, but no one had dared to say out loud. Marcus was a criminal. He had destroyed his family long before Tommy came into their lives. "Yes," Marcus said slowly. "I made a mistake, a huge mistake, but that doesn't give you the right to steal my family." "No one stole anything," Jennifer said. "We're just tired of waiting." "Tired of waiting," Marcus felt something snap inside him. 3 years out of 8 and you're tired of waiting. "The kids are growing up, Marcus. They can't wait another 5 years. And I can spend 5 years in this hole knowing that another man is fucking my wife?" The guard approached again. "Last warning." Marcus nodded, pulled himself together. He had to end this conversation. "What do you want?" he asked. Jennifer and Tommy exchanged glances. "Divorce," his wife said quietly. The word hung in the air like a sentence. Divorce. The end of 15 years of marriage. The end of a family. And then what? Are you going to marry him? Maybe. What about the kids? The kids will live with us. Tommy's a good stepfather. He's not their father, Marcus exploded. This time, the guard didn't warn him. He walked over and put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. Visiting hours are over. Wait, Tommy said. Marcus, I know you hate me, but I care about Jen and the kids. They're happy. Marcus stood up, shaking off the guard's hand. He stared intently at Tommy. You're a dead man, he said quietly. Marcus, don't be silly. Jennifer tried to intervene. But Marcus was already walking toward the exit, accompanied by the guard. At the last moment, he turned and looked at his wife. 15 years, Jen. 15 years we were together, and you gave up after 3 years apart. Marcus, don't ever come back. I don't want to see you. Dennis was waiting for him in his cell, looking concerned. Cole, what happened? They brought you back from your early visit. Marcus told him about Tommy's visit. Dennis listened, shaking his head. Damn, brother. He came to stake his claim. What? The alpha male is marking his territory, showing that he's the boss now. Bringing your lover to a prison visit is a statement. A statement about what? That your old life is dead? That he's the new boss? Marcus sat down on his bunk, feeling empty. They want a divorce? Expected. Now it's official. What about the kids? The kids will call him dad in a year. Harsh words, but true. Jason and Emily would get used to Tommy. Their real father would become just a memory, a man who came in letters and rare phone calls. That evening, Marcus didn't go to dinner. He lay on his bunk and made plans. He had 5 years left before his release. 5 years to think about Tommy living his life, sleeping with his wife, raising his children, spending the money he could have earned. But there were other options. On Monday morning, Marcus found Raymond in the dining room. Ray, I need some advice. I'm listening. If someone wants to get revenge on a man on the outside, how do you do that? Raymond looked at him intently. That's a dangerous question, brother. Theoretically, there are people who take care of things like that for money. But it's serious shit, Cole, not a game. Where can I find people like that? Are you sure you want to know? Marcus nodded. Raymond looked around to make sure no one was listening. There's a guy in C Block, Miguel Sanchez. He solves problems for people. For how much? Depends on the problem. A simple beating is $500. Serious injury is $2,000. And if it's really serious? He didn't finish, but Marcus understood. I have money in my prison account. Cole, think about it. This isn't child's play. I've already thought about it. But that was a lie. Marcus hadn't thought about it. He felt it. Rage burned his mind, leaving only a thirst for revenge. Tommy had stolen his life. For that, he deserved to die. On Tuesday, Marcus met Miguel Sanchez in the library. Miguel was a short, thin man in his 40s with numerous tattoos on his arms and neck. He was serving a life sentence for murder. Raymond said you have a problem, Miguel began without preamble. Yes. Tell me about it. Marcus told him about Tommy, his wife, and his children. Miguel listened emotionlessly, like a doctor listening to symptoms. I see. And what do you want? I want him gone. Forever? Yes. Miguel named his price, $5,000. Marcus had $4,300 in his account, savings from 3 years of working at the laundromat. I don't have enough money. Then there's no deal. Wait, Marcus grabbed his arm. I have a proposal. What is it? I know how to get the rest of the money, but I need time. Miguel looked at him appraisingly. How much time? A month. Maybe a month and a half. Okay. But if the money isn't there, forget about the deal. They shook hands. Marcus felt a strange sense of relief. The decision had been made. Tommy Henderson was going to die. All that remained was to get the money. On Wednesday evening, Marcus called his brother Kevin in Detroit. Kevin worked at an auto plant, lived modestly, but had some savings. Marcus? Damn, it's been years. How's it going in prison? Kevin, I need help. What kind of help? Money, $700. 700? That's a lot. What for? Marcus had prepared a story in advance. A lawyer. There's a chance I can get my sentence reduced, but I have to pay. Really? That's great. Yes, but I don't have enough money. Kevin was silent for a moment. $700. I can give it to you, but not right away. In a month. Great. Transfer it to my prison account? Sure. Damn, Marcus. If there's a chance to get out early, there's a chance. Marcus hung up, feeling a pang of guilt. He had lied to his brother, who had always supported him, but he had no choice. Tommy had to pay. On Thursday, Pastor Miller came to see him again. Marcus, how are you feeling after last Saturday? Fine. Really? I was told you weren't eating or sleeping. I'm fine. The pastor sat down next to him on the bunk. Do you want to talk about the divorce? What divorce? Jennifer filed yesterday. The lawyer called me. Marcus felt a blow to the gut. So fast. She wasn't wasting any time. I see. Marcus, I know how much it hurts, but there are ways to deal with the pain without destroying yourself. Like what? Forgiveness, acceptance, working on yourself. What about revenge? The pastor looked at him intently. Revenge destroys the avenger more than the victim. How do you know? Have you ever taken revenge? No, but I've seen many people who have tried. None of them were happier for it. Marcus stood up and walked over to the cell window. A piece of sky was visible through the bars. Pastor, what if someone stole your life, your wife, your children, your future? What then? Then you build a new life. But what if you don't want to build a new one? What if you want your old one back? That's impossible, Marcus. You can't bring back the past. You can try. The pastor stood up and put his hand on his shoulder. Marcus, what are you planning? Nothing special. Promise me you won't do anything stupid. Marcus turned to him. What if I don't promise? Then I'll be very worried about you. Worry. The pastor left with a heavy heart. Marcus remained behind to plan the murder of the man who had stolen his life. There was a week left until their next meeting, but Marcus knew that Jennifer would not be coming back. That chapter of his life was closed. It was time to start a new one, a bloody one. 3 weeks had passed since the last visit. 3 weeks without Jennifer, without children, without family. Marcus worked in the laundry like a robot, ate without appetite, slept fitfully. His cellmates avoided him. They all sensed that he was on the verge of exploding. The money from his brother arrived on Monday morning. Kevin had transferred $700 to his prison account with a note. Good luck with the lawyer, brother. Hope you get out early. Marcus crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. The lie burned inside him, but he stifled his remorse. On Tuesday, he met Miguel at the furniture repair shop. Got the money? Miguel asked without preamble. Yes, all 5,000. Good. I need information about the target. Marcus handed him the handwritten notes. Tommy's address, a description of his appearance, his work schedule, his habits. He had gathered this information bit by bit from conversations with the children. Does he live alone? Yes, but he often stays with my ex-wife. When's the best time to take him? On Wednesdays, he stays at the gas station until 9. He drives home through the industrial zone. There aren't many people there. Miguel studied the information. A week to prepare. Next Wednesday, your problem will be gone. They shook hands. The deal was done. In a week, Tommy Henderson would be dead. On Wednesday morning, Marcus was summoned to Warden Steele's office. He walked down the corridor wondering what it was about. Steele couldn't possibly know about the contract to kill Tommy Henderson, could he? Sit down, Cole, Steele said, pointing to a chair in front of his desk. Marcus sat down, trying to look calm. I have news for you, good and bad. Start with the bad. Your wife won't be visiting you anymore. She asked to be taken off the visitor list. The blow was expected, but still painful. I see. The good news is, you have a new visitor. Someone filed a request yesterday. Steele handed him a piece of paper. Marcus read the name and froze. Tommy Henderson. He wants to see me? Yes, it's for Saturday. Approve the meeting. Marcus stared at the paper, unable to believe his eyes. Tommy had requested a visit. The man he was going to kill wanted to talk to him. Why would he want that? I don't know. Maybe he wants to apologize or explain himself. Marcus thought quickly. If Tommy came on Saturday and he was supposed to be killed on Tuesday, this was a chance to look his enemy in the eye before he died. I approve the meeting. Are you sure? After what happened last time? I'm sure. Steele signed the permission slip. Remember, no trouble. At the slightest sign of trouble, the visit will be cut short. The rest of the week dragged on agonizingly. Marcus couldn't think about anything but the upcoming meeting. What would Tommy say? Would he try to justify himself? Or had he come just to taunt his defeated rival? Pastor Miller came to see him twice, but Marcus refused to talk. The priest sensed something was wrong, but couldn't figure out what the prisoner was planning. On Friday evening, Dennis tried to strike up a conversation. "Cole, how are you? You seem really withdrawn." "Everything's fine. I heard that guy is coming to see you tomorrow, your wife's lover." "You heard right. Why did you agree to see him?" Marcus turned to his cellmate. "I want to look him in the eye." "And then what?" "Then we'll see." On Saturday morning, Marcus prepared for the visit with particular care. He took a shower, shaved, and put on a clean uniform. He had to look presentable. This was his last meeting with the man who had ruined his life. The visiting room was not very crowded. The morning hours were not popular. Marcus sat down at the table and waited. His hands were calm, his heart was beating steadily. Strangely, he felt at peace. All decisions had been made, plans had been laid out. All that was left was to wait for the outcome. At 10 minutes to 10, Tommy entered, alone, without Jennifer. He looked nervous, uncertain. He approached the table slowly, as if expecting an attack. "Hello, Marcus." "Sit down." Tommy sat down opposite him and put his hands on the table. Marcus noticed the wedding ring on his finger. Had the wedding already taken place? Or was it an old ring? "Thanks for agreeing to meet. I was curious to hear what you had to say." Tommy took a deep breath. "I came to apologize." "For what exactly?" "For everything. For what happened between me and Jennifer. For how we told you. For the pain we caused." Marcus looked at him without emotion. "Go on." "I didn't plan for this to happen. I'm telling you the truth. I just wanted to help an old classmate's family." "And how did you help? By fucking my wife?" Tommy grimaced. "We grew closer gradually. Jennifer was lonely, the kids needed a father figure. And you decided to provide one. I fell in love with her, Marcus, and she fell in love with me." "How touching." Tommy leaned forward. "Look, I understand that you hate me. You have every right to. But the kids are happy. Jennifer is happy. Isn't that what matters?" Marcus felt the familiar warmth of rage rising in his chest. "What matters? Don't you care about my happiness?" "I do. But you made your choice when you robbed the gas station. And you made yours when you decided to steal my family." "I didn't steal. I picked up what you lost." The words hit home. Marcus clenched his fists under the table, but his voice remained steady. "And now you're a happy family man." "I try to be a good husband and father." "Father?" Marcus's voice became dangerously quiet. "You're not their father." "Legally, no, but in reality..." "Shut up." Tommy fell silent when he saw the look on Marcus's face. "Do they call you Dad?" "Emily sometimes. And Jason?" "Jason. He remembers you, but he's getting used to it." Marcus stood up from the table. The guard by the wall became alert. "Sit down," Tommy said quietly. "Let's finish this conversation." "We're done." "No, we're not. I haven't told you the most important thing." Marcus slowly sat back down. "Go on." Tommy took an envelope out of his pocket. "This is from the kids." A letter. Jason and Emily had written a letter to their father and given it to their mother's lover to pass on. The humiliation was complete. "They miss you," Tommy said. "Especially Emily. She asks every day when Daddy is coming home." "And what do you tell them?" "That Daddy will come home when he's ready." "Ready?" "Ready to be a real father, not someone who abandons his family for a life of crime." It was a blow to the gut. Tommy was accusing him of abandoning his family, as if prison had been his choice, not his punishment. "You think I abandoned my family? You chose easy money over honest work. You put your wife and children's future at risk. Yes, you abandoned them." Marcus felt something snap inside his head. For 3 years, he had blamed himself for his mistake, for the moment of weakness that had ruined his life. And now this bastard was saying he had abandoned his family? I made a mistake. Not a mistake, betrayal. You betrayed them first. Shut up. That's why Jennifer has a right to happiness, and the kids have a right to a father who will be there for them. I said shut up. Tommy didn't stop. You can hate me all you want, but I'm giving them what you couldn't. Stability, security, love. Marcus exploded. He leaned across the table and grabbed Tommy by the throat. The guard rushed toward them, but Marcus was faster. You stole my life, he growled, squeezing his throat. My family! My children! Tommy gasped for air, trying to break free. His face turned red. His eyes bulged. Stop! The security guard shouted, pulling out his baton. But Marcus didn't hear him. All he could see was the face of the man who had destroyed his world. His fingers tightened, cutting off his breath. You're dead, he whispered. Do you hear me? You're dead. The baton struck his head. Marcus let go of Tommy and collapsed to the floor. Tommy fell back into his chair, gasping for air and clutching his throat. Code Red! The guard shouted into his radio. Assault in the visiting room! Seconds later, 3 more guards rushed into the room. They twisted Marcus's arms behind his back, handcuffed him, and dragged him toward the exit. He didn't resist. His rage had subsided, leaving a strange emptiness. You're dead, Tommy! He shouted as he left. Dead! Tommy sat on a chair, rubbing his throat, and watched him go with frightened eyes. Marcus was locked in solitary confinement, a 2-by-3-meter cell with no windows, concrete walls, a metal bed, a toilet in the corner. He would spend at least a month here for assaulting a visitor, but that didn't matter. What mattered was that Tommy now knew they wanted to kill him. He knew Marcus wouldn't stop. He might even go to the police. He had to speed things up. On Sunday, Pastor Miller came to see him. Visits in solitary confinement took place through bars. Marcus, what have you done? What I should have done a long time ago. You almost killed a man. Too bad it was only almost. The pastor sighed. That won't solve your problems. It will solve one. There will be no more Tommy Henderson. What about the children? They'll see on the news that their father is a murderer. For the first time in several days, Marcus faltered. He hadn't thought about the children, about how they would react to Tommy's murder, about how it would wipe him out of their lives forever. But it was too late. The wheels were in motion and there was no stopping them. Go, Pastor. Marcus, go. I need to think. Left alone, Marcus lay down on the metal bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow night, Tommy would be dead. Justice would be served. But why did he feel so heavy? Monday passed in anticipation. Marcus didn't eat or sleep, just lay there thinking about what was happening outside. Miguel had already contacted the right people. The killer was tracking down his target, studying routes, preparing a plan. On Tuesday morning, Guard Steele came to the solitary confinement cell. Cole, the investigator wants to talk to you. What investigator? About the threats against Tommy Henderson. He filed a report with the police. His heart began to beat faster. Tommy had indeed gone to the police, but that didn't change anything. Threats weren't a crime, and it was impossible to prove a connection to the hitman. I'm not saying anything. That's your right. The detective turned out to be a young guy in his 30s, wearing a cheap suit and with tired eyes. He sat down across from the bars and took out a tape recorder. My name is Detective Wilson. I want to talk to you about the threats against Tommy Henderson. Marcus remained silent. Mr. Henderson claims that you threatened to kill him. Is that true? Silence. He also reported that you attacked him during a meeting. The video footage confirms this. Wilson paused, waiting for a response. When none came, he continued, Mr. Cole, death threats are a serious matter, especially coming from someone with your past. Marcus looked at him for the first time. What past? Armed robbery, a propensity for violence. I robbed a gas station, I didn't kill anyone. But you're willing to kill now? Marcus fell silent again. Wilson tried for another half hour, but to no avail. Marcus didn't say a word about his plans. The investigator left empty-handed. On Tuesday evening, Marcus lay on his bed and stared at the clock. It was 8:30. Tommy should have left work by now, through the industrial zone, down the dark streets, 9 o'clock. The killer should be striking about now, 9:15. It's over. Tommy Henderson is dead. Marcus closed his eyes and felt at peace for the first time in months. Justice had been served. No one would steal his family from him anymore. Wednesday began as usual. Marcus woke up in solitary confinement at 6 in the morning, washed with cold water, and waited for breakfast. He felt a strange calm. For the first time in months, his sleep had been deep and peaceful. Tommy no longer existed. The problem was solved. Breakfast was brought at 8. Oatmeal, bread, coffee. The standard fare for solitary confinement. Marcus ate slowly, thinking about the future. He would be punished for attacking a visitor. His sentence would be extended, maybe by a year or two. But that was nothing compared to the justice that had been restored. At 9:30, Guard Steele came to the punishment cell. His face was grim. "Cole, the warden wants to see you." "Why?" "You'll find out." Marcus was led through the corridors in shackles. This was unusual for an internal meeting, but after the attack on the visitor, security had been tightened. 3 people were waiting for him in the warden's office: Warden Harris himself, Detective Wilson, and an unfamiliar woman in a strict suit. "Sit down, Mr. Cole," said the warden. Marcus sat down, trying to figure out what was going on. If Tommy were dead, everyone would know by now. News traveled fast in prison. "Meet," the warden nodded at the woman. "Prosecutor Jenkins from the district attorney's office." A prosecutor? This was serious. Marcus kept a calm expression on his face. "Mr. Cole," the prosecutor began, "you are under arrest on suspicion of murder." The world spun. Contract killing? But Tommy was supposed to die last night. "Tommy Henderson was killed yesterday at 9:15 p.m., the prosecutor continued. "Shot with a handgun in the parking lot outside his home. Killed. The hitman had done his job. But then why the grim faces?" "We have a witness," Detective Wilson said. "Miguel Sanchez gave a full confession in exchange for a plea bargain." Marcus's heart stopped. Miguel had turned him in. Rat squealing in prison was punishable by death, but that didn't stop Miguel. "He told us about the $5,000 contract, your meetings, the money transfers." The prosecutor opened the folder. "We also have recordings of phone calls with your brother. The lies about the lawyer. It all adds up." Marcus was silent. The game was over. They knew everything. "Mr. Cole, do you have anything to say?" He looked at the prosecutor, then at the detective. "He stole my family. That doesn't give you the right to kill." "It does." The prosecutor closed the folder. "You will be charged with first-degree murder. The penalty is life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Life." Marcus would never be free. He would never see his children grow up, never hug them, never ask for forgiveness. "What about my children?" he asked quietly. "Your children will be orphans," the prosecutor said harshly. "Their mother is now a widow, and their father is a murderer." The words hit harder than a fist. Jennifer was left alone with the children. Emily and Jason would learn that their father had ordered a murder. They would live with that stigma for the rest of their lives. Marcus was taken back to his cell. He lay down on the bed and closed his eyes. Tommy was dead, but there was no victory. Only emptiness and the realization that he had destroyed the lives of everyone he loved. On Thursday, Pastor Miller came to see him. The priest looked older. "Marcus, what have you done?" "What I had to do. You killed a man. You destroyed a family. You're a murderer. He stole my life first." The pastor shook his head. "No, Marcus. You destroyed it yourself. First with the robbery, now with the murder. Go away." The kids saw the news. Emily is crying, not understanding why Daddy killed Uncle Tommy. Jason refuses to talk about you. A blow to the most painful place. Enough. Jennifer blames herself. She thinks that if she hadn't divorced you, this wouldn't have happened. Pastor, leave. Now. The priest stood up. "I will pray for your soul, Marcus, and for forgiveness." Left alone, Marcus cried for the first time in a long time. Not out of self-pity, but out of an understanding of what he had done. He wanted to bring his family back, but he had destroyed it completely. The trial took place 3 months later. Marcus refused a lawyer and pleaded guilty. Jennifer came to the hearing, pale, thin, dressed in black. She didn't look at him once. The prosecutor described the crime. The court-appointed defense attorney tried to argue for mitigating circumstances, the stress of divorce, depression in prison, provocation. But the facts were irrefutable. Jennifer testified. She talked about their marriage, about their love, about how everything had changed after her husband's arrest. "Tommy was a good man," she said, looking at the floor. "He helped us, took care of the children. He didn't deserve to die." The judge asked Marcus if he had any last words. Marcus stood up and looked at his wife. "Jen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the children. I wanted what was best." She finally looked up. There was no hatred in her eyes, only pain. Deep, unhealable pain. "I sentence Marcus Cole to life in prison without the possibility of parole," the judge announced. One last look at Jennifer. She wiped her tears with a handkerchief and walked toward the exit. Forever. The new cell in the block for life prisoners was smaller than the previous one. His cellmate was a murderer named Carl, a 50-year-old man with dead eyes. He had been serving his sentence for 20 years and knew the prison rules. "New here? What are you in for?" "Contract killing." "Family?" "Yes." Carl nodded understandingly. "Half of us are here for the same thing. Wives, lovers, rivals. Family is the most dangerous thing there is." The first few months were hell. Miguel was killed in the shower a week after his trial. Prison justice didn't tolerate rats. Marcus was transferred to solitary confinement for his own protection, then back to the general block when things calmed down. No letters came from his children. Jennifer didn't write. His brother Kevin sent one letter with curses and a promise never to contact him again. Marcus was completely alone. 2 years passed. Marcus worked in the prison library, read books, and tried not to think about the past. His hair began to turn gray and his face became wrinkled. Prison aged him quickly. One day, a letter arrived from Jason. His son had turned 16. He wrote dryly, without emotion. "Dad, Mom married Mr. Davis from the bank. He's a good man. Emily loves him. I've gotten used to it too. We moved to another city, new school, new friends. No one knows about you. Mom said I could write one letter. I'm writing. I won't write again. Jason." Marcus read the letter many times, memorizing every word. His son had disowned him. Final and irrevocable. Emily didn't even mention him in the letter. He sat down at the table and wrote a reply. "Jason, thank you for your letter. I understand your decision. Take care of your mom and sister. Be a good son to Mr. Davis. He deserves it more than I do. I love you all. Dad." The letter came back marked, "Addressee deceased." The family disappeared from his life forever. 5 more years passed. Marcus was 43. He worked in a prison workshop making furniture. His hands remembered the skills of a mechanic, but now they repaired chairs instead of machines. Pastor Miller retired. The new chaplain was a young enthusiast who tried to save the souls of hardened criminals. Marcus didn't go to services. Carl died of a heart attack. His new cellmate was a young man convicted of murdering a drug dealer. He called Marcus old man and told him about life on the outside. "I hear you had a family," he said one day. "I did. Do you miss them?" "Every day. Have you ever thought about finding them?" Marcus looked at the young murderer. "Why? To ruin their lives again?" The guy shrugged. "Maybe they've forgiven you." "Some things can't be forgiven." 10 years later, Marcus turned 50. His hair was completely gray, his back bent from prison labor. He no longer thought about freedom. A life sentence meant death behind bars. Sometimes he dreamed of his children. Jason was 27 now, probably married with children. Emily was 24, perhaps in college or already working. They had different lives, different parents, a different past. He would never know their children. He would never be a grandfather. His grandchildren would never know he existed. The family tree had been cut off in a prison cell. On New Year's Eve, Marcus lay on his bunk and thought about the past. 15 years ago, he was a mechanic with a wife and children. An ordinary man with ordinary problems. One mistake led to his arrest. A second mistake led to murder. A third mistake destroyed everything. Was it worth it? Asked his cellmate. What? Killing that guy? Was it worth it? Marcus was silent for a long time. No, it wasn't worth it. Then why did you do it? I thought I could get my family back. Did you get them back? I lost them forever. Snow was falling outside the cell window. Somewhere out there in the free world, his children were celebrating New Year's Eve with another father. Maybe they were happy. Maybe they didn't even remember him. It was the only prayer Marcus Cole said every night. May they be happy. May they not remember me. May they live as if I never existed. The snow continued to fall, erasing the traces of the past. And in cell number 247 of the life sentence block, a man named Marcus Cole fell asleep for the last time in a year that had brought him nothing but remorse. The story ended as it was meant to end, with the complete defeat of all involved. Tommy is dead. Jennifer is a widow. The children have lost 2 fathers. Marcus is buried alive. Revenge proved to be the most expensive illusion in the world.